A very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this session here, and to witness also the launch of Smart Port Challenge 2019. Now, this is the second year PIER71 run the Smart Port Challenge. Yeah, so as we move on every year, certainly we look forward to step up the impact that this program may bring to the innovation of the Singapore maritime industry, right? So for that matter, we pitched this morning theme and topic as building a regional ecosystem. And what we mean here is actually looking globally for global talent and taking advantage of the vibrancy of this this region economy here, right? And for that matter, we have the composition of the panelists this morning. Yeah, so actually they are very naughty. They are not sitting according to order. Yeah. Okay. Started with first Chun Ming. Yeah, Chun Ming from ESG. Stand for Enterprise Singapore. ESG is instrumental in bringing local startup overseas. And therefore we thank you ESG for representation here. Second, we have Michael, as was introduced earlier. Michael run rainmaking here in Singapore, and rainmaking is Danish accelerator who is already in Singapore. So we will be very happy to hear from Michael how he will leverage on the vibrancy of this region to extend the business. Next, we have Ingrid from Catapult Ocean. Now, Catapult Ocean is a Norwegian maritime accelerator. Currently planning to come to Singapore. Yeah, so we're happy to have them here, and we would like to hear from Ingrid how the vibrancy of this region can benefit you. Next, we have Chaipo from Ship Focus. Now, Ship Focus is a local maritime accelerator planning to go local. Go to the region. So we would like to hear from him as well. Now, last but not least, we have Stephen from Skylight. Now, Skylight was one of the curated startup in PIER71. It is a very good example of adjacent industry. Now, Skylight deal with network, and their software optimize the bandwidth of the network without having to increase cost on the hardware and so forth. And in maritime, there is a heavy needs to boost out the bandwidth in satellite. So we're happy to have Stephen here. And last but not least, we have Eric from Ship Supplies Direct. Again, another curated startup from PIER71. Now, without further ado, may I invite Michael to share with us about the impact program and how it is going to be run, and how do you plan to make use of the vibrancy of this region to your advantage. Yeah.
Great. Do I have some slides?
Yes, you do.
Can I go up there? All right. Is it on? Okay. So I had 8 minutes. That went down to 5, and this morning I was informed it's 3 minutes. So we'll speedily.
We have time actually. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. But anyway, so I'm Michael. As obviously, I'm a partner and co-owner of Rainmaking Innovation, global innovation house. We built and accelerated more than 750 tech ventures over the last 10 years. I'm actually not the managing director of Singapore. Sam Hall is down there. You can meet him later. But I am in charge of everything that is rainmaking, transport, and maritime globally. So maybe can I have the next? Oh, is the clicker here? Okay, great. Thank you. So what is the impact program about? So essentially what we're looking at is globally focused on technologies and opportunity spaces that we know will fundamentally change the industry. So this is not about incremental change or small tweaks. These are areas that we do not see any other way than the industry embracing them and utilizing them. So good examples are, like introduced by Chief Executive Kwa, is decarbonization, climate change, sustainability, which we will partner with MPA and SSA and others here in Singapore to spearhead. We're also looking together with partners also here in Singapore at areas such as AI in supply chain. So AI clearly a technology that is going to fundamentally change the way that the supply chain is agile and the way that it delivers products to the customers of the industry. And there are a number of other areas. We do this together with partners. We identify what is it really that makes a difference. Can I have the next slide? Or press a button? There we go. But so there is a difference here, right, in terms of what happens at PIER71 and what happens in all this ecosystem of startups. So really what we're looking at here with the Impact program is we're fusing successful, growing startups that are already making a difference at scale somewhere globally. This here is just an example of AI companies, but it could be any technology. It could be nanotechnology. But it has to be startups that are really have a bandwidth and can make a difference on a short term together with corporate partners. So together with partners who have assets, who have capabilities, who have reach. And this is really the magic sauce of rainmaking. It's the way that we create unfair advantage and scale and difference in the markets. We take what is already there, industry assets, capability, and then we take really fast, agile, successful startups and fuse the two. Can I have the next slide? Ultimately, we want to deliver results. We both want to deliver dollars for corporates and returns on investments because that's the way you get investable change. That's how you scale to get more of the stuff that's good. We also want to have positive impact with what we do. And what's happening this year, 2019, is so we're already looking at 1,000 plus really exciting startups that we think are the ones that are going to make the biggest difference in some of the opportunity spaces that we saw before. How is it designed? It's designed in very short cycles, 6 months. Within 6 months, and that's really the sort of the milestone here, or the benchmark is, we have to be able to say, there's a big corporate, there's a startup, they have a scalable technology that can be applied across the organization and the market. Or you have a new solution that's already on the market. When we ran this in Europe, in 3 months, we had a scalable IoT AI solution that was fused together between a startup and a partner. 3 months. That's insane, right? Like, it takes 12 months, 18 months otherwise, $4 million later, and maybe you have a new product, maybe you don't. But 3 months, 50,000 US later, new product on the market. Obviously, it's not only startups, and it's not just locally. This is a globally operating platform. Asia presence is spearheaded here in in Singapore. But it is really about having the most interesting stakeholders and corporates in here that we partner with. Many of the corporate partners, they also go together and create new products together, which is really exciting, especially customers of the industry and the industry, technology providers, and so forth. So, when are we starting? Starting H2, is that right, Bing Ji? We're doing a first exploration session on Tuesday. You can join us at the NG Factory. You can also go out and talk to there will be people here later that has rainmaking on their backs. Meet them, talk to them about this exciting initiative. You can talk to me, or you can, if I can have the last slide, check out tradewithimpact.com. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you. Thanks, Michael. Now, Michael, would you like to share with us why do you pick Singapore as a place for you to set up to expand your business?
So it's not because of the housing pricing, at least. But I think we've been looking at Dubai, we've been looking at Hong Kong, we've been looking at many different opportunities. And I think Singapore came out as the winner in terms of where is the biggest concentration of maritime and logistics corporates, where is the most friendly government and institutions that you can work with, and where is technology really in an exciting way taking off. We've been looking at AI technology, for example, and we were surprised last year to find that Singapore is one of the leading nations. You've seen Element AI have come into Singapore as well. These are super good signs that this is a super good place to be for doing things at scale. I think that it also means that we can attract really top startups to to Singapore, and that's really key for us.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah. Right. With that, perhaps I'd like to also invite Ingrid and Chaipo, as you are probably making plan how you what's next for your business. Would you like to share with us your vision and your plan, how this region, the vibrancy of this region, are being incorporated into your plan?
Well, I can start, and I think I have to echo a lot of the reasons that you are mentioning. Now, we are not doing a permanent presence in the near future, but it's important to be an active part of the ecosystem here. For Catapult Ocean, what we do is that we invest in startups that have sustainability at their core, whether that's in the maritime or in the other ocean industries. And I think that the potential for sustainability-driven startups in this region is big because the awareness is growing, and that's what we want to be part of that wave and support that development of a startup ecosystem that also puts impact in terms of sustainability at its core. And I think here Singapore can be a great place to start that journey.
Okay, Chaipo, please. Yeah.
In the case of the ship's focus, we have 3 complementing maritime tech startups under one roof. Unlike the typical accelerators like Rainmaking and Catapult, we are different in the time horizon. So instead of compressing the years of learning into several months program, or say 3 to 9 month program. In our case, we compress decades into years. So that is the difference, but there's no difference in terms of intensity, the rapid cycle. So the life cycle horizon is different, but the intensity is no different. And the looking forward is, to how to continue to get more tractions for the startups with the marketplace, and also subsequently connect them to the investors.
Thank you. Yeah. Chun Ming, may I invite you from the government perspective? Now, perhaps you'd like to give us an overview of the landscape that you see in terms of global economy from ESG perspective, and also to bring to our awareness plans from ESG, how you are helping strategies and policy that you're helping the local startup to go global.
Thank you, Mark. I think, first of all, I think we all know that the gravitas of global trade and investment are shifting eastwards. So Asia will definitely be one, if not the most vibrant region today. And in particular, Asian developments are strongly driven by, of course, China and Southeast Asia. And guess where we are, the little red dot? We are right smack in the middle of Southeast Asia. And I hear from the panel and many of our friends here that they have chosen Singapore to be their launch pad, to be their landing spot for their first foray into Asia. I think this is definitely a strong validation of our role. So I am very bullish, as well as all my colleagues in ESG, about Singapore's role in Asia. Now, more importantly, I think with the rapid growth in Asia, we are seeing a lot of things that are coming up, whether you're talking about infrastructure, you're talking about digitalization, you're talking about consumer demand and all this. And a lot of these give us tremendous opportunities. And of course, problem statements. Now, a lot of infrastructure are getting old, they need to be revamped. A lot of digitalization need to be made, need to be invested. A lot of new solutions, new business models need to be reimagined and launched. Now, these are all the opportunities available, right, in Asia. So without a doubt, we are in the right place. All of us are doing the right things. That's number one. Number two, the question now is how do we, beyond just leveraging on Singapore's role, help our companies, whether it's the corporates or the startups, or even our schools, to get plugged into all these developments, right? So after the Committee for Future Economy, the government launched the Global Innovation Alliance. So today, we are in 10 cities, right? We're talking about in Asian cities such as Shanghai, Suzhou, Jakarta, Bangkok, and further afield, San Francisco, Berlin, Munich, And NUS Enterprise is partnering us in many of these ventures. Now, that is one approach we can use to connect startups, corporates, and even people to people to drive innovation, to drive collaboration. Now, that's one approach. The second approach I thought, which is more important, is how can we devise a structure, mechanisms, or platform where we can actually find out more about problem statements in the region. Now, we all want to work on problem statements, right? Because that's a very direct approach. It gives us immediate opportunities, projects to work on. How can we do more of that, right? And third, more importantly, is individual startup venturing overseas the best approach? So we certainly don't think that's the only approach. We want to encourage alliances, partnership, and consortium. Let me give you one specific example what we have done. So my team have put together a Smart Transport Innovation Alliance consisting of 10 companies in the urban and future mobility field. So we bring in corporates like ComfortDelGro, SMRT. We bring in startups, like your Neurons, SWOT, and all these in the future urban mobility space. We put them together and we hunt in a pack together. We work on regional projects together. We work on common problems together, both in Singapore and outside Singapore. And ESG, as well as many other agencies, I would love to facilitate such a partnership. So in the case of the Smart Transport Innovation Alliance, we work closely with LTA to do this. And Your Excellency, we actually went to participate in the Intelligent Transport Systems World Congress in Copenhagen, last year. And this year, it will be in Singapore, yes. And we will be working with the consortium as well to profile heavily in Singapore. So I think to keep it short, these are some of the ideas that I thought I can throw out to the audience to consider and to come back to us with your insights and your views and your feedback. Thank you.
Thank you, Tremaine. Thank you. I have one question for him, but maybe reserve later.
Okay.
Okay, next, may I also invite Stephen and Eric, who represent the startup here. Now, Stephen is, as mentioned earlier, Skylight, and interestingly, through Block 71 Jakarta, he have already made some food stall overseas. So he's a startup that already gone overseas, now want to do more. Yeah, so we would like to hear from him, what other plans you have, and and how you can take advantage of this region. And so is Eric. Now, Eric is telling me that he's making plans, but not yet, have not stepped up to Singapore yet, but making plans. So we'd like to hear from your view. Yeah, Stephen, please.
Thank you very much, Mark. Just to help the audience understand, Skylight is a digital performance deep tech company that specializes in the optimization of transfer of data, applications, and content across the very busy internet. And we have been doing that for a while in another domain. It's called smart utilities. We actually harvest data off solar panels of some 1,800 locations across Singapore. And it's all thanks to PIER71 that kind of opened up our eyes to the possibility of using it in the maritime industry. And Skylight, we come up with our own IP. So currently we have about 7 IPs under our belt. We're actually catching the latest trend in industrial IoT, in edge computing, which is very relevant in the era of 5G. So we were thinking, how do we even cross into maritime industry? And it's all thanks again to PIER71 that kind of opened up our eyes. When we saw those problem statements, we say, aha, whatever we have learned there, we can actually apply it. And I think in the maritime industry today, there's a lot of talk about data analytics, predictive maintenance, etc., etc. But the reality is this: if the data cannot get off the ship, a lot of these could be moot point. If you can't get timely data out of the ship in a very secured way, I think security is the top and foremost on everybody's mind. And in the year 2020, I was told that cybersecurity is going to be a very big topic in the maritime industry. So we say, wow, we have exactly the same right product, right solution that we have kind of done elsewhere, we can bring into maritime. So of course, PIER71 is not just a contest you apply and hope to win. You actually have to put in a lot of effort, 8 weeks worth of very intense incubation. I mean, incubation could be an understatement. I think it's a brain-draining kind of exercise, and we are very fortunate to have Mark as our mentor, and he really drew us good, You know, do you really think this is the problem, or do you think it's something else? So that really set us thinking a lot. And at the same time, all thanks to PIER71, we get to meet very important partners. I think one of our partners is PCL Shipping. Again, that gives us a lot of validation. And throughout the process, and again, we have to thank MPA as well, because we went through the 8 weeks worth of grilling, and afterwards went to do a bit of pitch, and then we were quite fortunate to be given the first run-out position. And I would say that this is really a badge of honor, because as we try to internationalize, we always proudly tell the whole world we won the Smart Port Challenge as a first runner-up. And that is a very important calling card, because if the government, we always tell them, if the Singapore government says we are good, we should be all right. Yeah. So that's kind of what we have been doing. And as Mark has mentioned, we have actually taken this and internationalized. We have set up office recently in Taiwan, Indonesia, and we're going to go into China. And not only are we at the PIER71 level, we have actually gone one level up. We have actually gone to Block 71. And as a startup, we also believe in hunting as a pack. I think that was what was mentioned earlier. We don't believe in going it alone. So what we have actually done is, because for us, another way you want to think about Skylight is we have the iPhone and the App Store. So we've actually have all these platforms all set up. So on the App Store that we have, we can actually invite all kind of application players, because we don't believe we have all the knowledge and all the domain. So we're going to invite all those, and we're going to hunt as a pack. And in fact, in July, that's exactly what we're going to do at Block 71 in Jakarta. We're going to hunt as a pack, bring our kinsmen along, and then at the same time, locally, we're going to team up with a local startup, and then from there, we will push it further into the market. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Yeah, Eric, please.
Hi, so I'm Eric, and I run Ship Supplies Direct. So we are a company that's focusing on optimizing the supply chain for the shipping industry, specifically for example, when the ship needs food, spare parts. We focus on two main key areas. One, the e-procurement platform, and smart logistics system. So we're quite happy, really, that through PIER71, as Stephen shared, a lot of opportunities to interact with corporates. In fact, one of the things that we focused on was PSA's problem statement about many port users going into the port, not being tracked and causing congestions within the port. And we're quite happy that we came out of the Smart Port Challenge with a very clear idea as to what the product should be and what the problem should be that we are solving. And that's how we came up with our latest platform called SimFleet, Fleet Sharing Simplified. So we actually, because of the Smart Port Challenge, we'll be launching very soon with some of our pilot partners already. And we're also very thankful that through the platform that was given to us by PIER71, that PSA Unbox also chose us to join their program, which is very prestigious, because very few startups get through that vetting process that they have. And just talking about the regional, so we are just quite happy that recently we also have a Rotterdam-based client that now has chosen us to be assisting them with local fulfillment for ships, and also a very prominent ship owner, CMA CGM. We've also have another portal called Crew Buys, which is for the crew members to make direct purchases of small knickknacks like iPhones, cookies, Nivea skin cream if they like. You'll be surprised how much skin cream they like. Yeah, so these are some of the products that we now help with the seafarers to give them access to. And shout out just a few days ago was Day of Seafarers. So we're very happy to be contributing to them as well. So this is just part of the platform that PIER71 has really offered, giving us a lot of visibility with important stakeholders in the industry. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah. Next, I would like to open to all the panelists. Perhaps I'd like to share with us and the audience the kind of challenges that you encounter in this journey of going regional, making use of the advantage of this region. Now, what challenges do you encounter? Perhaps, maybe can I start with Michael, because since you have already set up rainmaking in Singapore, yeah, you probably have a lot to share with us, or don't know, maybe a lot to complain to us. Yeah.
Thank you. I have a lot to share, for sure. What challenges? No, so I think the region is very complex. It's very fragmented, and so China, for example, I've been 12 years in China, and I've been doing M&A there in my previous life. It's a fantastic country, rapidly growing, but also very much, I think, China for China, and it kind of contains itself. If you start something in China, it's hard to go out. And I find the same thing in many other places in Southeast Asia, Japan, and others that are great countries, but they are hard to do something across regions. And of course, when you talk about supply chain and trade, you can't do something isolated in one hub. You have to be in a place that embraces open sharing of data, welcomes that you have collaboration across countries. So yeah, I think I've been hitting my head against a hard rock for a long time in other geographies, and really finding that one place where you can spearhead things from, and even pull in, like, there are really good corporates in China that are super excited to come to Singapore, but if you meet them in China, it's just a different thing. So yeah, those have been some of the challenges, and it's why I guess Singapore has been our chosen hub.
Okay, panel members, yeah? Any more sharing? Yeah?
So coincidentally, I also spent 12 years in China. And most of it was spent helping Singapore companies to enter the Chinese market and to grow there. So not just China, but I think in general, although we call ourselves as an international city, a cosmopolitan city, but when you actually go and set up there, it's actually a very different thing. Culture is one thing. So I just give a very simple example, which I'm sure many of you have heard of, especially I think SMS Lam and Rehun, you will know. When the Chinese say, 问题不大, that means the problem is not great. Okay, the problem is not big. Essentially, it's a hint to say that the problem is actually greater or bigger than it looks, and it's going to be quite difficult for them to push through. Okay, so when they say certain things, just you know, we go on very layman things. When they say certain things, it doesn't mean that it's really literally the case. You need to read deeper, and I'm sure across many countries in the region, it's all like that. And compounded to this is that in Southeast Asia, we try to tell people, yeah, actually we are all part of the ASEAN community, of course. But actually, if you look deeper, we are 10 different countries, 10 different type of government structure, 10 different type of economic structure, 10 different languages, and even 10 different currencies. So if you really want to do something in the region, how are you going to tackle that? As a single startup, unless you are so well funded, like Grab and so on, which you can keep on, you know, spending a lot of investments and money and so on, it is really very tough, okay? So that's why the hunt in a pack is one way for us to quickly get quick wins and leverage and complement each other quickly. So I would say culture is the biggest thing for us to succeed in the region. Understanding them, getting them to work with us, and really making things work in their local context. Yeah.
Maybe I can just jump in on that. I have in my previous life, I had the opportunity to do businesses from all the way to Latin America, Africa, Middle East, Europe, and of course China. And I think one thing I will add is two things actually. Number one, always come and aim for win-win. It has got to be win-win, because if you win and somebody don't win, then you can forget about it. It's not going to happen. That's number one. Number two, I think we need to understand, appreciate the nuances of dealing with different cultures, the pace of doing things, and the way, sometimes we are very excited. We want to get things done very quickly, and we kind of do a machine gun explanation. And half the time, they might nod at you very politely, seemingly agreeing or understanding what you're saying. Actually, when they walk out the room, they have no inkling or idea what you just said, right? So you really have to slow down and then put it in their context. And a third thing that I think I strongly believe in, and I've seen it, I think as Singapore firms going internationally, hunting as a pack is not just a concept, but it's a necessity. I think as a concept, I think in the last 20 years or so, conceptually is there. Everybody understands it. But then realistically, how do you hunt as a pack? Who gets what? Because I've actually seen hunting as a pack fall apart. I've seen it. I think before ESG was called ESG, it was called IE Singapore. And I was always joking, if I were to kind of trade one IE Singapore card for $5, I'll be rich, because I get the opportunity with a lot of IE. And they're all working very hard. But the reality is this: I think Singapore firms, unless we come together in a more tightly knitted way, if we go out there in name, it will just fall apart because I've seen it fall apart many times. So now in our own little capacity as a small startup, I think we are trying to piece together other startups and leverage on each other and hopefully make a difference.
Okay, thank you. I'm so sorry, panelists. We are coming to the end of this discussion. So I need to be conscious of the time. So I need to wrap this up now. But before that, can I invite Chun Ming as a closing remark? Would you like to, is there any goodies or good stuff that ESG can announce specifically for the maritime industry? Yeah.
No, I mean, we have been working closely with MPA as well as PIER71 to look at how we can support startups more. I think this year we tried something new, which is something we should have done earlier actually, how we can match startups with potential investors. So I think this is something that we are looking at because, to be honest, whether the demand driver or the problem statement owners, they'll be concerned. As a startup, are you sustainable? Are you really able to carry through, not just the pilot, but eventually if I award you any commercialization or scale up, are you able to do it? So I think after much study, we realized that actually the financing and the investment part is very important. So I would just like to say that we are working closely with the ecosystem on this, and hopefully in the coming months, we hope to make some announcements or interesting news to share with the ecosystem. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, thank you,
All
panelists. Now, can we give them a round of
Thank
applause?
you. Thank you, Mark, and the wonderful panel for sharing their insights.